Join me today and find out why I decided to launch my podcast within the space of a week, right before I decided to go on holiday with my family. I will also share with you the process on how to launch something new. Not necessarily a podcast, but it could be a course or a membership, but just the process on how to do it very briefly. Hello, you're listening to the Courageous Goals podcast. This podcast is for high achieving, courageous women who want growth and the know-how to scale their business online. Running a business is a journey and a process. The more we learn in action, the more we succeed. If you're a woman in business, this is the podcast for you. Be in the 5% of businesses that make it. Let's get bold and create the life we desire. I'm bringing my passion to you through advice, coaching, inspiration, and support to help you create and design the life and business you want to live. I am a Dubsado expert, CPD certified in social media platforms, and a lover of admin systems and processes. I am an accredited ICF coach specialising in trauma and narcissism. My own coaching journey has supported my growth immensely, and I want to share those highlights with you to inspire and give you courage. Let's get intentional with our goals and make them happen. Let's get started. Hello, and thank you for joining me on today's episode of the Courageous Goals podcast. Today, I'm going to talk to you about my experience launching a podcast when going on holiday. Now, I never thought that I would be launching a podcast on the 1st of August because I have wanted to do a podcast for a long time, for about 6 months or so, but I haven't really told anybody. I didn't really put it out there. However, the last month or two, I have been talking about it lots. I bought some tech and then I posted it out there on social media. And then I've been talking to a few friends, to a few colleagues. I told my partner. And so I've really been looking at it, but I haven't dived into it until it was about 3 days before I started planning for the podcast. I just thought to myself, right, I'm going to dive in. I'm going to create this podcast and see what happens. So I found a really simple, short podcast course that I bought, and I watched that for hours on end one Sunday. So a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, do you know what? I know most of this. I've listened, I've watched, I've done, the course, and I decided to just fly into it. So I ummed and ahed over tech for a while because, as you might know, there's lots of different software platforms that you can use for podcasting. And then I decided to actually trial a couple, see what I liked the feel of, and I went with one. So I've got my hosting, I've got the place where I record and edit, and that was it. The tech was kind of there, it was ready. I had a mic, I had the headphones, I've got a laptop, and so I decided to actually, right, this is what I want to do. I know that I've wanted to do it for so long. I know why I want to do it. And it was just a case of getting down to the nitty-gritty details, creating the content, creating the graphics, and just going for it. So I put 4 days aside and I literally just spent all of my time creating this podcast to launch. And it was so intense, it really was. And if you're subscribed to my emails, you will see that everything that could go wrong did go wrong. So I even deleted a whole episode completely by mistake, didn't mean to do it. But actually I've learned a lot by having all of these mistakes whilst creating this podcast. So it has really taught me so much. And aside from the actual content, what you're going to talk about on each episode, you have to create a trailer. You then have to create an intro, an outro. You need music. It's also very good to actually create a plan. So of course, knowing me, I've got a spreadsheet which has a plan. It's got the script notes, the show notes, what the podcast is, the number of the podcast. I've got a Trello board as well that will give me reminders when I need to create the next episodes. I've really planned it out so well. Maybe even one day I might turn this into a course myself and share it with everybody. But it really is. It's a really creative thing to do. So if you're a creative business owner and you like talking, then I would 100% recommend starting a podcast. It has been really good, really exciting. And it only launched on Monday. So we're on Friday at the minute. Today I'm recording for Monday's episode because of being on holiday. So I decided to create what I needed for the launch, which was a trailer and 3 episodes. And then I decided when I got back that I would create the next few episodes for the month. So I'm going to batch plan. So I'm going to do episodes, record them, edit them, schedule them a month in advance. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. And so if you're considering launching a podcast, I would 100% recommend it to begin with, but doing it whilst going on holiday is so beneficial. And I never thought it would be. I thought it would really stress me out. But doing the podcast right before going on holiday, then going on holiday during like the promotion week. So when all my social media was going out, when my emails were going out, when I was uploading to stories, I was uploading things about the podcast as well as my holiday. So anyone that follows me and that's connected with me will see a mixture of things from holiday to this podcast. And I've had amazing feedback, direct messages, responses to my emails. I've had some good ratings and reviews on the podcast platforms themselves. So I've actually hosted it on 4 different platforms, which are Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify and Stitcher. And they all work seamlessly with my host. So when I upload it to the host, they get scheduled to those platforms. So they all work together, which is brilliant. So doing this whilst going on holiday was the best idea, because now I've come back from holiday. I got back on Monday evening. And so this week I've had posts going out. I've still had a couple of emails going out. I've still had lots of messages coming in and people responding to me. And it's been absolutely amazing. But coming back to a calmer week has been wonderful, because I've really been able to focus on my clients as well as focus on other areas of my business that I'm working on, and let the podcast kind of do its thing on its own. So it has been really good. So if you're considering launching anything, whether it's a podcast, a course, a membership, or anything like that, firstly, it is really a good idea to do it around a holiday if you can, even if it's a couple of days or even a day off, whatever it is, it's a really good idea, because then you can relax whilst it's all going on. If not, I kind of wanted to get into the details about how to do it. I'm not going to go into the details about the podcast itself, but the details about launching, because a lot of people find launching quite daunting. They don't know how to do it the right way, and I'll probably go into it in more detail in another episode. But for today, I thought I would just share quickly how you kind of need to work backwards when launching. So if you choose a specific date that you want to launch, it could be, say, I don't know, the 1st of October. So you need to work backwards. So the 1st of October would be your date for launching that product, that service, whatever it is. Beforehand, you need a promotion period. Ideally, you need a minimum of 2 weeks. I would recommend maybe 4 to 6 weeks. And that's where you only talk about that product or that service, whatever it is that you're launching. Create all of the content way beforehand if you can. Planning is huge key. So you need to plan for things like social media, which could be the content, the graphics. You need to plan for your emails that you send to your subscribers. You need to write a sales page that would go on your website if you've got one. And perhaps you could also do a challenge or some kind of festival or something like that to entice people in, to give them something for free, completely 100% valuable to them, and that's definitely wanted by them. So then when you launch your product or your service, that's like the next level of the challenge that you've just done with them, and it shows them the value in you and what you do and what you offer. So ultimately, when thinking about launching something in business, you want to know what it is that you want out of this launch. So really dig deep into finding what it is that you're trying to achieve, what you need for this, what your goal is, any financials that you really want to break through out of this launch. So dig deep into all of this. And when you do that, the content that you write for your sales page and your emails and your socials will really show your passion, and that will come through in you as a person and what you do. So when writing, think about the person that you're talking to. Talk to them specifically. You can share your story, your experience, and people you've worked with, but talk to them and explain why they need to be listening and watching for what's coming. In the meantime, don't forget to create those all-important relationships and those connections. So talk to people everywhere and anywhere. Be really helpful, because people value that. They like to know who you are. And don't forget, people like to know your story and where you come from, how you ended up in business. And it all comes back to the whole know, like and trust factor. If you've listened to one of my previous episodes, there's only 3, so we're right at the beginning of this podcast, then please do go back and listen to those, because people really like to know people. They like them, they trust them. So what they have to offer is of huge value. People buy from people. So although they need your service, there could be a million other people offering what you offer, but they know you, they like you, and they trust you because they've been following you. They like your story. They've had a quick conversation with you. They might be part of your membership. It could be anything, but it's that whole element of those 3 specific things: know, like, and trust. People buy from people. So I will go into more detail about launching in a further episode at some point, but for now, I just wanted to share my experience about launching right before a holiday and give you my tips and my experience. So I really hope this is of some value to you. And if you've got any questions, please do let me know and come over and join the Courageous Women in Business Facebook group. I'm live in there every week, sometimes more often, and I regularly post in there to help and support you, give you advice, coaching, inspiration, and just anything you need, really. And of course, at the moment, we've got some masterclasses every month. I've got some speakers coming in. I also showcase courageous women in my newsletter, and we will be having people on the podcast, which I'm very, very excited about. So if you are thinking of launching, don't sit around thinking about it like I did with this podcast for 6 months. Get on with it. Just do it, because someone will be listening, someone will be following, someone will be there. And doing something now is better than doing nothing. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be there. And you can always perfect things later. And I've learnt this so much throughout business. I've been in business for 6 years, and it's only really the last 2 years that I've stepped things up a gear, and more so this year in 2022. So I hope you've taken something of value, and I hope that I have inspired you to start something new and just go for it. Please do come and follow me on socials, connect with me, join my group, and I hope to hear something new from you all very soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Courageous Goals podcast. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode and taken something of value for you. If you'd love more advice, coaching, inspiration and support, head on over to join many other courageous women in business in our free community group over on Facebook. We'd love to welcome you. You can also find free useful resources over on the website at leannebrown.com/resources. Right, that's all for this week. I look forward to sharing another episode with you next week.